Hello, I'm Sean Kent Hayashi with the Professional Development Group. I'm an executive coach. I help organizations build high-performing teams and inspiring leaders. One of the competencies that we all need in order to be a professional in workplaces today is the skill of emotional intelligence. I'm getting ready to kick off a workshop on this topic for a high-performing team. You can see we're just about to kick off. Getting ready. Come along. For each of the emotions, there are different questions that we can ask ourselves to process through the experience. If you're feeling love, joy, or hope, ask yourself, how can I keep this going? Right? How can I milk this moment? One of my coaching clients called me right after we had begun working on developing self-awareness. And she said, Sean, I spent the weekend trying to figure out the differences between love, joy, and hope for myself. And I was getting really stuck. Is this joy or is this hope? I said, who cares? As long as it's one of them, just keep milking it. Like, play with it. Let yourself enjoy it. Just notice, this feels really good. The emotions that tend to get us stuck when we don't know how to process ourselves through them: envy, sadness, anger, and fear. We're going to dive deeply into each of these now so that you have the tools that you need to process yourself through each of these emotions and not get stuck in them. So first, let's talk about fear. There are two faces to fear. If I'm standing on the edge of a cliff doing jumping jacks, if I'm going 80 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour zone, if I'm about to give my credit card over to somebody who looks a little sketchy at a flea market, do I want to feel fear? Yes! Absolutely. Why? Because fear in those moments can be a trigger to stop what you're doing. Slow down. Sean, not a good idea to do jumping jacks on the edge of a cliff. Not a good idea to go 80 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour zone. The thing that causes you to say don't do that, that's that spark of, oh, not a good idea. And that's really useful. If you have children, family members, do you want them to be fearless? No! I want my child or grandchild, I want people to understand, don't touch the fireplace. Don't run out in front of a car. I want them to have that sensation and that ability. In fact, fear is learned. We learn fear from parents, spouses, well-meaning colleagues, and friends about what we should avoid. But there's another face of fear. We live in a society that sends us messages all the time that you should already know how to do everything. You should already know how to use that software package. You should already know how to grow your business. You should already know how to manage people. Have you ever felt that? We feel those messages regularly at us. And so what happens is we have created a thought pattern, a belief system within ourselves that says, I'm not sure I know how to do that. I'm afraid. Can I handle this? Can I do it? Am I capable? And as soon as we trigger that thought pattern in ourselves, we put ourselves into fear. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can handle this. Can I take this on? Oh, that might be too big for me. That's going to trigger us right away into fear. And so the first thing that we have to do with fear is ask ourselves the question, which type of fear is this that I'm feeling right now? Is it the kind that I need to stop something? And if so, stop. Or is this the type of fear where I'm being asked to stretch myself in some new ways? I'm being asked to do something that I haven't done before. This could be an opportunity to learn. This could be an opportunity to grow rather than get stuck in the fear. I mentioned just a moment ago that fear is learned, and we develop fear secondhand by watching other people. Imagine this for a moment. A toddler. Can you get a toddler in your mind crawling around on the floor? The toddler sees something very interesting, a black furry thing, and picks it up and starts to pop it into its mouth. What does the well-meaning, loving, nurturing person around them do when they see that happen?
Scream and take it out of its hand.
Scream! We take the spider out of the child's hand. No! We do not do that with spiders, right? What are we teaching the child?
Be afraid.
Be afraid of the mouse. Be afraid of the spider. Be afraid of the whatever it is that we're doing this with, right? And this is very helpful. It's probably not a good idea for our children to play with tarantulas, snakes. We have to be careful about that. Have any of you ever watched Cesar Millan's show, The Dog Whisperer? One of the things that I love about this show, who's he actually teaching in the show? The owners. You see, most bad behavior in dogs has come as a result of an owner being in fear. And so in many ways what he is doing in that show is teaching people how to use systematic desensitization. In other words, learning. He's teaching the adult, the person, how to relearn ways of engaging with the dog. I highly recommend you watch the show, not necessarily to learn about how to train dogs, but more about how to learn to desensitize something that you've learned in the past that you want to change. You see, the reality is that our deepest fears are behind our masks. Being ignored, being avoided, being disrespected, being not listened to, we all have this. It's a common fear that every one of us has integrated into our experience. Why? Well, we could go spend a lot of years on a therapist's couch digging into this, but here's the bottom line for all of us. Somewhere along the way, you wanted something. Maybe you were 2, 3, 4 years old. You had a thought, an opinion, a belief, a desire, and you were ignored. I don't know who ignored you. I don't know if it was a grandparent, a parent, a loved one, somebody who was taking care of you ignored you, and you felt it, and it did not feel good, and you did not like it. And you didn't have the skills, you didn't have the know-how, you didn't have the conversational ability to talk about it and to process yourself through it. And much like me, in the story that I told you before, I shoved all that down and became afraid, right? We all share this common fear. So what we have to do is we have to learn how to get the attention that we need. And this is why understanding communication styles, understanding motivators, understanding how to people read, understanding how to be a high-performing team is so important. Because when we put all of those puzzle pieces together, we start to get the attention we need. We start to be able to move out of being afraid of not being able to connect with people in meaningful ways. Every one of us wants great relationships. Every one of us wants rapport and harmony and wonderful customer experiences and wonderful colleagues to work with and great family exchanges. We all want that. So mindset makes a huge difference. When we are looking for a solution, when we believe that we are capable of creating solutions, we are more likely to trigger hope in ourselves and others. But when we are focused on the problem and what's wrong and what someone did and who's to blame and rubbing someone's nose in something that happened, we are likely to create fear. We are going to trigger fear in ourselves and in other people when we have that mindset. So learning to create new mindsets, learning to believe that we are capable of solving things. Hey, I may not know how to do that, but I can pick up the phone and call somebody who can. So the questions to ask ourselves when feeling fear, the first one is, which type of fear is this? Is this the situation where I need to stop and slow down? If so, then do that. If not, then this is probably the type of fear where I'm being asked to learn something new. And if we're in a situation where we realize I'm being asked to do something that I don't know how to do, I'm not sure if I can handle this, this is where mindset makes a big difference. And so what we need to do is learn how to think some new thoughts. First, gain clarity about what it is that you're being asked to do. What is it you're being asked to learn? Ask yourself the question, do I want to learn that? And if the answer is yes, then remind yourself of some of the complex things that you've already learned how to do. The fact that you're seated here right now, the fact that you're watching this right now, says to me you know how to speak English. Learning how to speak a language is quite complex. Some of you even know how to speak multiple languages. You know how to drive a car. You got yourselves here today. Driving a car is quite complex. You navigated your way through school experiences, through work experiences. Every one of you were offered a job at some point. I know that because you're here on this team. You were offered a job. Those are all very complex experiences. Most likely you are living in a house you enjoy. And again, the process of getting a home, the process of paying your bills, these are all very complex things. If you can learn how to do those things, chances are really good you can learn how to do whatever that thing is that's in front of you that somebody's asking you to learn. Again, the key question is, do I want to learn this? Do I want to take this on? Do I want to be challenged to learn how to use YouTube? Do I want to be challenged to learn how to use social media? Am I willing to take on the challenge of learning a skill that I don't know for myself? When we start to ask ourselves the question, then we're being self-aware about it, right? We're processing ourselves through it. So creating this positive self-talk, making the list of the complex things you've learned how to do before, reminding yourself, if I can do those things, if I can make lasagna, I can probably figure this out too, right? And once we start this kind of conversation with ourselves, guess what happens to the fear? We've talked it down. We're not triggering fear anymore. We're now likely triggering hope. This is possible. Purposeful action is the best way to eliminate worry, anxiety, fear, helplessness. All of these words that I've just said represent that fear, that lowest vibration level. So whatever words you use when you're there, recognize there is a path out of that stuck space. I'm Shawn Kent Hayashi with the Professional Development Group. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this video, we'd be delighted to have you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click that subscribe button below, and you'll also see there's a bell. If you click that bell, you'll be notified each time we post a video. If you've enjoyed the content, please give it a thumbs up.